Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are listening to the show, and welcome to Legends Rise, an Elder Scrolls Online podcast, where we educate players new and old about the game itself, whether it's how to run dungeons, discussing combat, chatting about crafting, posting information about PvP, gabbing about guilds, babbling about builds, and so much more. I am your host, Marcus Axford, and with me today is my co-host, the beautiful and lovely Queen of Cyrodiil herself, Lainy Kirkpatrick. How are you doing today, Lainy?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. It's nice to be back, though.
Oh, it's so good to be back. Had a lot happen the last few weeks between both of us having health issues and me having to move from one house to another. And spoiler alert, on the 6th, we are getting a new rental, nice 4-bedroom, 2-bath, with a nice little office for me to move into and have a nicer background than the one you guys are seeing now, because I'm currently recording out of a garage. So, and just work has been absolutely awful because if you guys didn't know, I work outside, and lately in the Pacific Northwest, it just hasn't stopped raining. Which, yes, I know, I grew up with the jokes about, Oregon, it rains 3/4 of the year.
Oregon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it kind of hasn't the past few years. We've kind of been a little spoiled. So this has been kind of a normal yet also above average wet spring. And it's just been, ugh. By the way, disclaimer, if you happen to hear a weird static sound, um, don't know what that is. I've
You can
been
blame it on Yaskier.
I yes, blame it on the cat.
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing a lot of testing, and the problem just came up out of nowhere. Like, I've swapped out because I have a spare mic. I've swapped that out. I've swapped out cords. I've put it
hmm
into different holes, and nothing seems to be working. So I don't know. I'm hoping to get a new mic in the near future, but I, other than that, we'll just try and do our best over here. So now that we are finally back, you know it. I've been talking about it, Lainey. We're talking about combat basics. It's exciting times.
He's
So,
excited too.
well, we had a game plan. We were gonna make May the month of combat. We were gonna have combat basics. We were gonna go into roles and all kinds of other stuff. And then life kind of sidelines us from time to time. So, um,
And
also,
we were gone nearly a month.
yeah, yeah.
And you guys still, we're still getting like new plays and all that. It's been really exciting for us because we have not really put out much except for a trailer in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, for another project I've done with some other cast members that I thought everybody would really enjoy because it's a lot of fun to listen to, regardless of like the lower quality. Um, but yeah, I keep looking at the numbers and I'm like, we've accrued almost 400 total plays in 3 weeks. Guys, we are just shy of 1,000 total plays in less than 3 months. Holy God.
I'm really more impressed that we haven't done any new episodes
I know.
for this show in 3 weeks.
I know. It's just been absolutely insane. You guys are an amazing community, and we just wanted to, as always, thank you so much. Before we get into it, we want to remind you that Legends Rise is part of the Pop Culture FM network, and if you want to join our amazing community, you can come join our personal Discord server for Legends Rise. Because I did that this morning, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and revive our old Discord because I understand that people come, hang out for ESO, and you can come hang out in the Pop Culture FM Discord as well and see the other projects that the other cast members do, of course. And we'll make sure to have the link to that Discord in the Legends Rise Discord as well. But we noticed an uptick in discourse now that everybody's kind of all in the same, uh, you know, same area. Everybody's talking about ESO and all that, so everybody's just been having a great time. So we're back to our personal Discord, and I will make sure I have the links updated for that, which are on our Twitter or our Facebook at Legends Rise ESO. We also have an Instagram that I have failed to post on because, hey, did we mention life gets in the way? But we post our pics of our adventures, and you can find that at Legends Rise ESO as well. And we're on YouTube, so if you're listening to this through our podcast, you can find the links to all of our stuff, our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitter, everything in our description. And if you are watching this on YouTube, it's, vice versa. You can find that in the description as well. Finally, if you love listening to us here and you want more, you can go to patreon.com/legendsriseeso. And for $5 a month, you can get this show ad-free. You can get a shout-out on the show. You can message in with your comments and questions and have access to other cool stuff like exclusive merch, early access to bonus episodes, and exclusive Discord roles to access some cool exclusive stuff that we are working on. You guys really help keep the show going, honestly. Honestly, nobody has contributed to our great fortunes yet. That's kind of disappointing. You guys need to try harder. I don't care if gas prices are going up, and I just dated this episode. I don't care if they're at $5 a gallon right now. Just don't go anywhere and give us that $5.
Hey everyone, I'm Lainy. I'm looking for a new co-host because Marcus got canceled.
A gallon of gas or Elder Scrolls Online?
The choice should be easy, right?
This Patreon I could support. God, I just really dated this episode now. Oh well. But yes, you guys help keep the show going. Your money helps us to solve problems that arise, like hardware failures. We can do that on the fly. We're able to upgrade equipment. We want to do giveaways. We'd love to be able to do that, but
That would be nice.
we need to do Patreon stuff, which I would probably, like, if we did giveaways, they'd probably be Patreon exclusive giveaways. So it's like, oh, you're subscribed to Patreon, you have the Discord thing, so the giveaways would be in that Discord. So I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet, but it'd be really fun to do that. So, all right. I think that's it. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. So, you've learned the language. I'm doing my Captain America thing right now. So you got detention. So your body is changing. Man, I know how that feels. Yeah, so you've learned the language. You have a general sense of the world of Tamriel. And now you're ready to carve your own path. But in order to do so, you need to learn how to take down the nasty beasties that stand in your way, because no matter what you do, there's always some form of combat through questing, dungeons, PvP, and more. So, we're going to start off with the differences between PvE and PvP, because they are vastly different. So, Lainey, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor for a little bit and talk about how you do the basic combat for PvP.
Well, the first thing you need to know about PvP is how to combat lag. I wish I was kidding. It's no secret that there's a lot more love given to PvE over PvP.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, gee, I don't know. So I think, like, probably, like, if you're just starting out into PvP, say Cyrodiil, like, obviously it's going to be different. There's going to be different morphs of skills, different, gear sets that you're going to use in PvE versus PvP. And some of the proc sets that you get in PvE and use PvE, they seem really, really good, and some of them translate to PvP, but a lot of them don't. You get more of, like, the cheesy, like, proc sets in PvP that are just lazy. But I actually like this because, Marcus is kind of like the PvE guy, and I'm over here doing the PvP thing.
Yeah, it works out great.
I mean, it does, because, like, we, like, bring both very different sides of the game into, into this. So, gosh.
People on YouTube are like, what the hell are you doing? My dogs are doing something at my feet right now, and I'm not really liking this. Again, I can't stress enough. I cannot wait for my new office. I will say that I am aware that between PvE and PvP, there is a difference on focus for damage. So for PvE, you want to focus on crit because mobs have no resistances.
It's all penetration over in PvP.
Yeah. So
I'm just gonna do this weird smile over here.
All the guys. Oh, she said penetration.
It's funnier, right? Because the Lover Stone gives you penetration.
Wow.
Hey, it's part of the game. It's Amanda Stone.
Guys,
Don't at me.
she said it, not me.
He said penetration again.
So,
It's just these kind of things that we make immature jokes about, but it's Zos's fault because they enabled us to do that by making the Amanda Stone for penetration be the lover.
anyway, but yes,
Anyway.
PvP is raw damage, so your spell and weapon pen and your spell and weapon damage, although you do need spell and weapon damage for both, you are focusing more on
Mhm.
penetration to other players. I can't.
Oh my god, he said penetration.
I can't. I just thanks, sauce. Thanks for the gas prices. You know what? We're already canceled. Who cares? I don't care anymore. Um, so yeah, that's gonna be your focus between the two. But yeah, PvP is definitely, like Lainey said, a whole other ball game. You're gonna have sets that are gonna focus on actually attacking players, versus just normal monsters. Um,
And one other thing to note there while we talked about penetration and crit. It's not to say that crit doesn't work in PvP. If you've ever played a Nightblade, you'll know that Nightblades have a lot of crit passives. Now, my Magic and Nightblade does do 23k pen. So the crit doesn't really come to focus, although it does have nice crit. But the point I'm making there is just because something isn't the meta doesn't mean it doesn't work.
right, right, and also for PvP, there's also CP, non-CP, proc, no proc.
Yeah,
So
we'll
um,
get it more into that once we go to our PvP episode in a while.
yeah, so gearing up for PvP is a heck of a lot more complicated than just equipping
And
some.
expensive.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the tri-stat enchantments?
Oh god, the tri-stat enchantments.
And if you're on PC, you know the prices are too high.
Why do I want to come to PC again?
Because that's where I am.
Everyone
Just to
is.
start with that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that is you're gonna not to say that console isn't populated, but PC is much more populated than console is.
Right, right. Um, and then on the PvE side, you are focusing again on just straight up killing things. So you want
Mm-hmm.
your there are two ways of doing it. You can do an actual like crit build where your weapon and spell damage may be a lot lower, but if you're increasing your crit, there's two things. There's crit chance and crit damage.
Yeah.
And I remember I did do a crit build way back in the day, and I got it to like 72%. With
And the good thing to mention about this, crit is not just for damage dealers.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I don't know much about tanking, but I know as a healer, like certain procs fire over crit, but also the higher your crit, the more healing you're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't think there are DPS hybrid tanks, but tanks are kind of, again, that wonderful gray area where you can really experiment. As long as you're staying alive and you're providing some support, go nuts. It doesn't matter. The two other spots you're going to find people really like criticizing you on are DPS and healing, especially healing. We were
It's
actually,
always the healer's fault.
yeah, it is.
First rule of PvE.
Well,
It's never the DPS's fault for standing in the stupid fire.
we were actually talking about it. How I was thinking, God, the one role I haven't done is healing, and I'm like scared because I'm just afraid that I'm gonna do it wrong the first time, and everybody is going to just like criticize me so hard. I'm just gonna never touch it again. Cause
That's why you should learn on a necro, because you can res the group so they shut up.
yeah, yeah. Oh God, Necro. There's no reason that res should not be on a healer or tank's back bar.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. Damn it. When we talk about basic combat and
Then we can
your
start talking about necros.
yeah, uh, you're not necessarily talking about just damage dealing because healers also heal by doing damage, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Their healing depends upon their spell damage and I think weapon damage now that everything's hybridized.
Depends. Now, my PvP healer runs dual wield back bar and resto front. So yeah, like it's gonna depend on weapon damage. Um, as well, like it was spell weapon damage, really depending what you need it for.
Right.
Although, I still run resto on my PvE healer.
Right. Right.
So it really depends what you're doing because healing is not just one build, it's so situational.
I will say, if you are a self-healing tank like I have been, you can crit heal yourself, which is
Mm-hmm.
extremely useful. I'm not saying focus on it. I'm saying it exists. So like you can actually a good way to do this is if you run the Psijic skill introspection, because that's a constant channeling heal, so you can actually pay attention to your when you crit and how often you crit. It's actually kind of a cool test. You just pop introspection, wait until it fully boosts up to all 5 stacks, and then you can watch yourself go, oh, I'm healing for like 3k, 3k, 6k, 3k, 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 6k, and you can kind of watch. But that's when it pops 6k, that's your crit, and obviously that's affected by your sets and your passives and all your other stuff. So I mean, like you were saying with Nightblades having so many crit passives, there have been Nightblade healers. I believe you run a Nightblade healer, don't you?
I do not. I know a few people who do. I run a Magblade DPS.
Okay.
I could spec it as a healer, but I don't really heal on it. Um, Nightblade, but I do run a Resto back bar. It is a PvP build, so I need some sustain, especially being the stage 4 vamp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very fun though. But Nightblades like are just great with healing. And the Nightblade healer actually is pretty interesting because there are a couple skills that drain your health to give out heals to the group.
Right.
Um, so like there's like all different types of healers. Nightblades are great,
Right.
but Necro and Warden are probably my favorite though.
And I think that's pretty much the differences between a PvE and PvP, but it's kind of important to make those distinctions first,
Mm-hmm.
especially depending on what you want to go into. Like, if you are an experienced MMO player in general, you might be new to ESO, but you're pretty much well aware of like what the concept of PvP is.
Mm-hmm.
But like honestly, as a new player to ESO and MMOs in general, I recommend sticking with PvE for a while and questing and figuring out how combat works and stuff like this. You can go into PvP, but you will get steamrolled.
Unless you find a good guild that takes you in.
No, absolutely. You can, run in packs with people, but
I think one of the biggest mistakes I've seen is often during Mid-Year Mayhem, the PvP event,
right,
where you have a lot of PvEers coming in, joining pug groups, which I always run pug groups and I teach people how to PvP during that, because like PvP needs numbers, and also I like to just be helpful and teach people what they need to learn. Now that being said, one of the biggest mistakes I have seen in a proc campaign is PvE players treating it like PvE. This is not a boss that's auto pathing and has certain mechs. This is real time live players who you don't always know how they're gonna play. So you've got to be very mobile, like much more mobile than if you're in a PvE place.
yeah, if you're doing a boss battle for sure, yeah, because you're not looking for mechanics. Players will throw you for a loop, definitely, and they're much more
Mhm.
aggressive. Most of the time, they'll kill you within 5 seconds.
Yeah,
So,
and if you go into proc sets, it's even more. And we won't touch on proc campaigns very much, but I will say one of since Major Mayhem is coming up next month, if you are a warden, if you go into a proc campaign, do not run your net. There is a set in there that if you cleanse, you will just explode your entire group. So do not run a net because it has a cleansing. Do not run purge. Do not run your Templar, and cleanse. That's probably just the big PSA I'll give you ahead of Major Mayhem.
well, now I have to do it because of the lulls. You're like,
So don't be like
I was
Marcus.
gonna say, you're like, you're just not coming in with us that entire month. We don't trust you. Um,
No, we ran a proc campaign actually, and one of our Templar healers was like running some kind of purge, and he's like, "Yeah, no one died," and one of our other friends was like, "I beg to differ," because I guess he was by him when he cleansed and
I didn't
proc
realize Mid-Year
set.
Mayhem was our next event. Good to know.
Major Mayhem is normally in the January and July.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, hopefully that was enough basic information for you guys. We're going to move on to your in-game character sheet. Now, this thing is so much more useful than I first thought. I mean, at least it is for me when doing this particular episode, because it literally shows you, like, all of the basic information you need to know. So, your character sheet's going to include things like your title, your attributes. Those are your character's description, advanced stats, your active effects. This is all on your left side. Although I don't know how it's laid out for PC, so bear with me. So, your attributes. I'm gonna adjust this real quick so I can look up at my screen. There we go. So you have your max magicka, your max health, your max stamina, and then you have your recoveries on the other side. You have your spell damage, spell critical, spell pen, and on the opposite side, your weapon damage, weapon critical, and physical pen. So basically, the opposites all the way down. And then your spell resistance, your physical resistance, and your crit resistance. So you can keep track of all your numbers through your character sheet. And again, I don't know how it is for PC, but for console, it got really expanded on, what was it? With Greymore, I think, a year ago. I think so. Where we actually get to see our advanced stats, which is, bash cost, break free cost, sneak cost, all of this good stuff. So
Yeah, and your sprint speed will also show you that too.
yeah,
I think mine is like 140 percent on my mag blade.
yeah. So most important thing to know about basic combat is honestly just how to survive. So you're going to want, I think for DPS, because we are talking about combat. So, for the sake of this episode, we're just going to cover the DPS role. We're not going to go into healing or any more than we need to or anything like that. Just because, again, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of a brand new player that's just going to go around and, randomly kill things in the world. So, what do you need to know to do that? So, you're going to want to look at your resistances. And you're going to want to remember that when you're leveling 1 through 50, you do have a buff. And so your character starting the first handful of levels is going to be really strong by comparison. Basically, I think they scaled it to when you're starting out, you're at the same power level as CP 160.
Yes. And so as you put points into your attributes, your stats will go down.
Yeah.
As you level up and do that, your stats are going to go down just naturally because the closer you get to level 50, obviously you're losing the buffs you got because they do scale you up to CP 160 so you can kill anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Be able to go through all the stories and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of like training wheels. As you get closer and closer to 50, the training wheels start to go up a little bit more. But what balances that is, yeah, you're getting more damage, you're getting more resistances, you have access to more sets, more armor.
More skills because you start out with 3.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go into like gear and stuff more, but you have your basic light, medium, heavy armors, which obviously in that order is going to determine your resistances. So light gives less resistance than medium, medium gives less resistance than heavy, heavy gives the most resistances overall. You can mix and match another change that they did, I think across all platforms, was the fact that armors now have passive bonuses and penalties. So I'm just happen to look at the light armor bonuses right now. So each piece of light armor does the following: reduces damage taken from magical attacks, reduces the cost of roll dodge, reduce the movement speed, penalty of sneak, and all kinds of stuff like that. Um, reduce the cost of break free, reduce the cost of bash. My rule of thumb is still your end goal is still probably going to be doing um, 5 of your primary uh, weighted armor and 1 of the other 2 pieces, just because the Undaunted skill line has something called Undaunted Metal, which gives you a maximum of 6% bonus to all 3 of your stat pools when you're wearing light, medium, and heavy armor. So, like, if you're a Magicka user, you're probably going to be wearing a lot of light armor. Stamina, you're going to be wearing medium armor. Heavy armor is generally reserved for tanks
Now,
as a
quick
5
note
star.
on that: if you wear heavy and light, you'll still get a bonus. It just won't be as much.
As far as just wearing heavy and light?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because some. I don't know. It's hard to justify moving away from the 511
Mm-hmm.
armors. Like, even after they did this, I'm just like, you could experiment, but I'm just like, I still can't justify getting away from like, as a tank, 5 heavy armor, 1 light, 1 medium, getting all my stats boosted and stuff like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
no different than um oh, and something else important to remember when you're talking about armor, and again, we'll probably cover this more in gear as well, but you have what are known as heavy pieces and light pieces. So, like, your chest is considered heavy, your helmet is considered heavy, and your what is it, your legs, and the rest are small pieces. So
Yeah, your legs, head, and chest are gonna be the ones with the most armor. So
yeah,
if you do go heavy, those are the pieces you're gonna want to make them heavy because you get more armor from it.
yeah. So if you're running a Magicka build, you're gonna want your heavy piece to be like your chest, um, or helmet, or whatever. Uh, or if you're running a stand build, you're gonna want the the same thing. If you're running a tank, I know we said we are gonna try and talk about DPS only, but just as a quick side note, if you're running tanks, since we're talking about this, 5 heavy, and you're gonna want to run your medium as a if you're doing your monster set as a medium helm, and then having your shoulders be light, because then you're getting your maximum amount of armor. So yeah, resistances is very important. It's kind of your primary thing that you're looking at as a baby player, essentially. Most things aren't going to flat stomp you unless you're actually screwing around with like world bosses on your own. In which case you will get stomped. But as far as like just questing, you're not really gonna die that often, especially if uh, you're running your resistances at what, like 15k as a minimum, something like that.
Something like that.
So
You would hate my resistance on my Nightblade. It's like 8k or
I
something.
was gonna say, is it a glass cannon?
It's a glass cannon, man.
Okay. So, but I think
That's
that
a lot of damage, though.
I I can imagine. How much does it hit for? Do
I
you
don't
do you
know.
remember?
It's PvP.
Okay. Anyway, that's kind of about your basic for just staying alive, is making sure your resistances are high. There is a soft cap on resistances, if I remember correctly. It's like 32k. After that, the
hmm
game doesn't really calculate resistances anymore. It's just overkill.
hmm
So
Now, I will mention, if you go resistance, you lose damage. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to go DPS, you kind of want to go for lower to middle of the road resistance, whereas a tank you're going to need that really high resistance because as gain in like tankiness and sustain, you lose damage.
Yeah, yeah. If you can achieve 20k resistance without sacrificing at least a whole lot of damage, then definitely go for it. Um, because it's great to be hitting hard and being able to take a lot of damage as well. But yeah, I'd say about I think the average is like 15 to 20k somewhere in there for your resistances as a DPS. Let's see, going back to character. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go from here. Oh, right. Your resource pools. We're going to talk about that for a
Mm.
second. So, you are not going to want to spread your stats across. You do not want to, as a DPS, to be like, oh, I'm going to have a 20k magicka and stamina and 25k health. That's not.
Well, I
Again,
think in PvE, health is not a priority for DPS.
if you have a good
Whereas,
healer, no.
right, no, but in like your regular like progression group, you're not expecting like you're gonna be rocking about maybe 20k health. I know my PvE
No,
mech
yeah,
rocks about 19k, whereas in PvP, you build tanky. You have to build tanky, so you're gonna like put some points into health and your primary stat pool. Like my comp group in PvP, everyone has to have 30k before the Warden buff.
yeah, because in PvP you cannot rely on a healer, whereas in PvE stuff you have to rely on a healer for that
Hmm.
content. That's what
And
it's
this is
made
a
for.
group that runs 4 healers, and we're all like running what we need to, but you just can't rely on the healers. You have to have some tankiness. You've got to have a source of evasion. You've got to be able to survive because no matter how much damage you do, if you can't survive, you're not doing any damage.
Not to mention if you're like separated from the group for some reason.
Yeah, don't squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
You are the fat kid at that point. And that is, I mean, I run with this all night blade group too. And we kind of sit in fields sometimes and we kind of just watch like the trail of people riding by, and there's always one trailing. And that's our target.
That's always kind of a advantage, though, if you all plan it out. People do that as well, where they just have a player act like they're weak and just kind of
Hmm.
run around. And as soon as like a group of people like comes after them, like your entire your entire play group just ambushes them, and it's just so
It
great.
happens. And sometimes, it's not that, and it's really fun. Also, Magnum shot, if you're a Sandblade, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So in PVE, you're gonna want to put your main resource pool as high as possible. You want to prioritize that because that actually does contribute to your damage. I think it's oh god, we're getting into like algebra stats here. It's like uh I this isn't it, but let's just say it's like oh wait a minute.
Let's pretend. Let's pretend.
I'm trying to think it's like for every for every 1000 magicka or stamina, it's 10.
I have no idea.
I can't remember, but basically it correlates to let's just say that 1000 correlates to 1 or 100. No, it can't be 100. That'd be insane. You get the
Some
point.
skills or and procs also can scale off your higher pool as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a recent change in the past couple years where they
Hmm.
started doing everything to where it scales off of your primary stat pool.
Yeah, and that's Magger Stam. They don't really count health.
No, not unless when you see scales off health, you're like, oh, that's a tank set. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, cool.
It's always going to be Magger Stam.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, and we were talking about resistances. PvP, you're gonna want crit resistance. So even though people don't really
Hmm.
run crit heavy stuff because they just assume everybody's just gonna be able to negate it. So you, if you
I
really
mean,
want to, you could experiment and really take
like
the
it's
chance.
not to say that there aren't crit builds. Obviously Nightblades, like a lot of Nightblades run pen builds, but crit builds are existent. Nightblades have great crit passives. They're great crit build. They're great crit class. Blech. Um, but that's the thing, right? Like not everyone like will run crit resistance. Like I normally don't, but you build tanky in PvP, whereas you're not gonna have to run that with PvE.
Yeah. So I'm
You don't need like a big health food like you do in PvE. PvP. Sorry, I can't talk tonight.
I'm trying to think if that's kind of the a good basic roundup of what you need to know as a starting player. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, you just kind of mess around with things. There's a lot of stuff that goes in to your damage, so it's
Hmm.
not just like there's sets, there's passives, there's abilities, there's other player abilities. For example, the Dragon Knight we were actually talking about before recording. It's igneous weapons.
It
It
is.
grants you and everyone around you 20% buff to their weapon and spell damage for like almost a minute. It's really dumb.
It is really dumb. And if you think about it, like, think how well that stacks with a warden.
Yeah.
Because the warden's netch gives them brutality as well.
Is that minor? Because I think the DK
I
is
think it's
named.
I think the DK is major. I could be wrong, but I think that the warden is minor.
Okay. Sidebar to everybody. Again, I know we're going to repeat this, but when we're talking about buffs and debuffs, so there's minor and major. Minor and major stack, but you can't go major, major, minor, minor. You can't do that. They
Hmm.
don't stack. Even if it's coming from another player. So if say somebody lands their Colossus from their Necromancer on the boss, and you also land your Colossus on, it's not going to stack major vulnerability.
Mm-mm.
So, in fact,
No.
there's an issue with the Necromancer there or that ultimate where I think people were stacking it or they were timing it to where the boss just always had
Minor
major.
vulnerability on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what they were doing is they were timing it.
yeah,
I mean, if you like, and if you hit Warhorn before then, like that's also probably gonna help.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Another basic thing to learn about combat is there are when you're talking about your weapons, you notice that there is light attacking and heavy attacking.
And
Um,
medium attacking.
is there medium attacking?
Yeah, so medium attack, so you have your light attack, which is just your simple hit, right?
Right.
Your heavy attack is like the full like thing, whether it's like a tandem weapon or a bow or destro or resto staff. A medium is like when you it's a long attack, but it's not a full heavy attack. And I've seen people get really hung up on like, how do I know? It's like just hold it down like for a couple seconds and then let go. Like, it's not going to be your full on attack, but it is going to be a little longer than a light attack.
What's the benefit of that?
Don't ask me that. I don't remember.
It's like there is none. It's
I
just
think there
something
is,
you
and
can do.
I know it's used a lot in PvP, so I'm just gonna Google it because I don't.
That's fine. We're not omnipotent. We don't know everything. We're just going by our experience. Uh,
Okay, so basically you avoid the full wind up time and you get a little more damage than the light attack.
okay, okay.
Hmm.
Because there's this thing for DPS, and I am not a good resource for this because I am awful at doing this. But there is
Hmm.
something called weaving, and this
I'm
is
great at it.
this is something I wouldn't worry about right now as a new player. We're gonna cover it when we talk about advanced combat mechanics, but it's basically where you light attack, do an ability, do a heavy attack, do an ability, do a light attack. You're basically kind of maximizing as much damage as possible.
Hmm.
So you light attack between certain skills because of just the timers on them. So
It's animation canceling, and you don't have to do a heavy attack when you weave. Most are just gonna go skill, light attack, skill, light attack, skill, light attack, because it's an animation cancel, so you can get more damage off in the same amount of time as if you were just doing the skill.
right, heavy attacking is what helps you gain your resources back.
Yes. Now we mentioned medium attacks just a bit ago. Medium attacks do not restore your resources, so be careful.
I didn't think they would.
No, a fully charged heavy attack is the thing that recharges your resources.
Yeah.
And it's different based on more stamina based weapons like bows, dual wield, two-handed, that sort of thing. Those restore stamina, whereas Destro and Resto restore magicka.
Oh, before I forget, we were talking about Mundus stones. Uh,
We were.
those are things that you find out in the world, and if you look online, they give you all kinds of different
Hmm.
permanent passive abilities. So, like mine, they give you boons. Like mine is the Lord, and it increases my maximum health by 2,427. So this is something that you're gonna want to find early on,
Hmm.
and it basically, especially as a new player, it kind of supplements what you're having problems with. Are you dying?
Right.
Are you dying a lot? Pick the Lord or pick something that gives you resistances and helps you stay alive. Are you not killing as much? Well, then, pick something that's gonna
Warrior
give you more
lever.
damage. Yeah, yeah. Or the thief, or that'll give you more crit,
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Right.
But these are
If you're too slow, go steed.
yeah, these are definitely going to factor into your end game, but they're also great for early game to kind of offset what you're not,
Hmm.
what you're having a hard time with. That's the great thing about this game is it's like, oh man, I'm having a hard time with one field. How do I improve it? Looks at long list. Oh, this is how.
It's also important to note that most established guilds are gonna have Mundus stones at their guild house.
God, they're
Most of them
expensive.
have all of them. Yeah, they're expensive.
They're so expensive.
They're like 4,000 crowns each.
They are. That's a lot of money. And there's like 12 Mundus stones. That's so much money. That's like $200 or $300 in Mundus stones.
The best way to do it is when you get like the 6 months or the yearly subscription, because then you get all your crowns straight up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it doesn't appear every month.
Yeah, but
You
who
get
can
them all
afford that?
front up for their year. So that's probably the best time, because I know like one of the guilds I'm in, it's a PvP guild. Our GM's like ESO Plus is up in June, is up next month. So she plans to get all the rest of the month stones with the crowns she gets from the yearly.
Right. I'm trying to think. I don't want to miss anything. Let's see. We've covered types of. Mm, no, I don't know if I want to get into types of damage because that's a whole other thing.
I would say leave that for another one,
Yeah,
because like that is gonna be one where we're gonna flesh out a lot more.
there's so much to combat.
There,
we're
there,
just
there is,
we're just
but
trying to
it's
give you
great.
guys a little bit of a basic one so you can go around and quit. I will say when it comes to the heavy attacking, there are some weapons that have really great animations that I love to heavy attack with more than others. The bow feels really good to heavy attack with,
Hmm.
and the lightning staff feels really good to heavy attack
Oh
with.
yeah. So the night, and the lightning staff also has a nice little AOE if you heavy attack with it with that passive.
I call it the Emperor Palpatine stick. I am the
Um,
Senate.
Now, it is important to mention, not all heavy attacks are the same speed. Things like dual wield,
That's true.
bow, those are going to be faster than say like a two-handed or like a staff heavy
I was
attack.
gonna say staves are slow. They're like a
Yeah,
second or
they
two
are.
slower than yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the lightning staff is so nice, because the frost and the inferno, they wind up and then they go, whereas the lightning hits during and then hits for a bigger one at the end.
Yeah.
Lightning staves are great for AoE.
Yeah, yeah, and they do like a continuous amount of damage versus like the
Hmm.
fire staff where it's just one big burst of damage.
Yeah.
So I think we'll go ahead and round this episode out by talking about some abilities. We'll get more in depth with each class, of course, but um, let's see. Well, we were talking about the Dragon Knight, so let's go ahead and do the Dragon Knight abilities because honestly, Dragon Knight is like we talked about one of the easier uh, classes to learn on. So
Dragonite is also, I believe, the current meta because they're super buffed. Now, for those of you who have heard it's like getting slightly nerfed, it's like this much of a nerf.
yeah,
It's like
it's really
nothing, so
tiny.
please, please just stop.
And luckily, my first character was a Dragon Knight, so I'm just gonna switch to my Dragon Knight real quick.
Hmm.
And
The
my
DK tank is like the Templar healer. It's simple and easy to learn,
yeah,
although boring.
yeah, it kind of. Honestly, I tried doing a DK tank and I just kept dying because of the fact that they nerfed uh Searing Strike so hard. But to be fair, Searing Strike was an ungodly self heal. It
Hmm.
was
I
uh
think like it's DKs. In my opinion, have been one of the most nerfed classes apart from Nightblades. They were either super buffed or they were super nerfed.
oh no, I'm sorry, Burning Embers.
Three numbers, okay.
Okay, so uh Burning Embers is a great uh damage and self heal ability to keep you in the action while you're questing. You can spam it, and I believe if you hit with it and then hit it again, because what it is slash an enemy with flame dealing, well, for this character, 3,000 flame damage, and an additional 6k flame damage over 10 seconds. You heal for 100% of the damage done with this ability. Enemies hit by the initial hit are afflicted with the burning status effect. Such a great ability. And I believe if you hit with it a second time, it cancels the first one, which means you instantly heal for the damage you've already done. So
Hmm.
it's
I
just,
think so.
it's chef's kiss. It's just a fantastic ability. And it used to be horrifying because when the game first came out, or a couple years into when it came out, you healed for 120% of the damage done. So I'm like, oh, cool, I'm hitting with a 10k Burning Embers. I just don't die ever. Oh, I'm running a Nord with it too. I just never die.
See,
So,
that's the thing with DK though. Like, it's always been either super, super buffed or super, super nerfed. I remember times when Dragon Knight was only viable as a tank. DPS was just not happening. And then you have right now where Mag DKs are one of the strongest in the game right now. The
yeah,
meta is constantly changing. Now,
yeah.
that being said, like I said earlier, just because something is the meta doesn't mean it doesn't work. Now, like in the previous example of when DK was really nerfed, you had to work a lot harder to get good DPS out of a Stam or Mag DK. It's a lot easier now, but it can be done.
Or even just to heal yourself, because that ability, they nerfed down to 84% of your healing
Yeah.
for 84%. And that doesn't seem like much, but when you're used to, like, healing, like, slashing and your entire health bar just goes up.
Hmm.
Because you also got to remember, if you're a tank, that's not a whole lot. That's like a quarter of your bar, maybe a third. But when you're a DPS and your end game and your health is only 22k, that's a lot that you're
Hmm.
healing for. If you're healing for 10k, that is half your health.
Yeah,
So,
that either Green Dragon Blood or Coagulating Blood is also a nice heal, as well as Cauterize. Unfortunately, you don't see DK healers a lot anymore.
yeah, no, probably for
And
good
and
reason.
DK didn't have very good heals to begin with. You had to rely more on the restoration staff abilities than on the class heals.
I find it funny that Ash Cloud now heals. It never used to,
Yeah,
and they added healing. I'm
I
like,
I
cool.
feel like Ash Cloud is like a crappier version of Sap Essence.
Like here,
Yeah.
let me Ash Cloud.
It's
Yeah,
cheaper, but it's not as good as Sap Essence.
yeah, Cinderstorm, which I mean for 15 seconds. Wait, what? It only costs 378 magicka.
Right, like I said, it's cheaper than Sap Essence, but it doesn't do as much.
What? Well, okay, it's like for a, and again, why we talk about DK being the best DPS to learn on is fire, fire, fire. It's so easy to buff fire.
You like if you like fire, also if you want to be ironic, run a vampire.
So like on this character, summon a scorching cloud of ash at the target location, reducing enemy movement speed by 70%, which is nice, and healing you and your allies for 1,741 every 1 second. So 2K, which is kind of nice.
Now the thing which makes Sap Essence, which is a Nightblade skill, which we'll go into more detail later. Sap Essence is you just kind of clap your hands around you, and it like just draws the damage and heals. And that's like the animation. But you have to cast whatever morph of Ash Cloud you use. Sap Essence, you do not. So there's like a small delay as in Ash Cloud as opposed to Sap Essence.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
And Sap Essence is the Magicka morph of it, and it does damage and heals you.
Yeah.
Whereas in Ash Cloud, you have to choose between heals or damage.
Yeah, Fiery Breath is another great one for the DK.
That one's fun. I love that one.
Engulfing Flames. Afflicted enemies take more damage from all flame damage attacks based on your weapon and spell damage, with a maximum of 10% bonus damage taken. Oh, that's interesting. They changed it. See, I haven't played with a DK in a while, but it's really interesting to go from playing this class from like 6-7 years ago and looking at it now. It's just totally different.
It is. And if you're a tank, DK tank is the easiest tank to learn on, and one of the reasons is its chain pull.
Oh,
No other
yes.
class has that chain pull. If all the other classes, they have to go get the chain pull from fighter skill. DKs do not. It's part of their skill line.
Either that, the Necro's armor, which passively pulls if an enemy hits you from range.
Is that the Goliath morph?
No, bone
the
armor.
Ultimate bone armor. That's right.
Yeah, and then the third one is Void Bash set, which pulls everything as an AoE, which is pretty wicked. So, for abilities, in order to acquire these, and you will get these throughout your questing and your leveling up, you will need skill points. Sky Shards are another good way to get these. Every 3 Sky Shards you get a skill point. You can respec abilities, or reset them and change them up at shrines at your capital city. I just know the
and they're also in the expansion big cities too.
Okay.
Another way is
respec scrolls.
Yes, which you get a attribute respec scroll and a skill respec scroll for free from leveling up to 50. I can't remember which level you get it at. But there's another two ways to get skill points. When you level up in the Alliance War line, you get skill points.
Yes, you do.
And your Alliance rank. So you get a skill point every time you level it. And the other way is it's actually pretty nice, especially if you like PvE. When you do a dungeons quest for the first time. And you also get one from doing the group event in public dungeons.
Yeah, I forgot about that. There's a lot of ways to get skill points. I will say, if you're gonna tinker and respec constantly, do it really early. Because when you start getting upwards of 300 plus skill points, because it costs gold to respec if you don't have a scroll. And it'll cost you upwards of 20k. It's dumb.
Well, I mean, this is like the only MMO I've ever played that charges you in-game currency to /stuck.
Oh yeah.
That part's dumb. So yeah, if you are stuck, and you need to /stuck, they will charge you however much it would cost you to go to a way shrine, be that 1,000 or 100.
Yeah. Oh well. I guess they're
so
just
if you get stuck, better hope that you didn't take away shrine recently.
Yeah, I guess they're just banking on the fact that nobody's ever gonna get stuck, but that happens once in a while if you're falling off cliffs.
I got stuck during a fight in PvP. I was stuck between two rocks. I couldn't get out of it until the fight ended and I could mount. But I was the bomber in that group. I was supposed to be the tip of the damage spear, and I'm over here stuck in a rock while they're all fighting.
Just please kill me. But so to wrap up the episode, I would look to your character sheet. It shows everything you need to know. Keep track of all your stuff. Again, your resistances, your damage, um, your advanced stats when you get into doing more specific things, because we talked about different um, different damage types. So yeah, there's like, well, I'm looking at the resistances for them, but they're also forms of damage that you can do. So it's like bleed, disease, frost, magic, poison, shock, fire. These are all your resistances that you have, and you can do all kinds of different things to help your resistance and your damage as well. So again, keeping in mind that it's a new player listening to this episode that's just needing to do the minimal amount to get through questing and start to learn more of the more advanced combat stuff and wanting to get into dungeons and stuff. Because yeah, as a new player, it's gonna be a while before you get into a dungeon. Even the original base game low level ones. Unless you have friends that already play that are happy to take you through, but still, in which case you're just in there to learn. You don't need to be doing
Mhm.
anything. You don't
And
need.
the sad thing about being a new player in a dungeon is how many, like, I have 15 characters. Like, I'm always leveling a character. So, like, I'll go, like, you can hit dungeons and battlegrounds at level 10. I can't tell you how many times I've queued into, like, fungal grotto or something low level on one of my low levels. And, someone with a lot of CP will just leave. There's normally two reasons. They don't want to do that dungeon, and they don't want to deal with new players or new players.
Yeah, and that's always sad.
Hmm.
But I.
But you'll often find a lot of people, meet a guild, get to know people, you know, they're going to be the ones that help you. And if you have a friend, you can't get vote kicked.
Yeah, yeah, that's always great. I can't tell you how many times that people have tried to vote me, and my friend laughs and goes,
Yeah,
"No, this
same.
is
Like
this
when
isn't
I came
happening."
back to the game, because I had to start over on PC, and I was like 300 CP, and we were doing like vet pledges, and there was like these two pugs and me and my friend, and they were trying to vote kick me only based on my CP when we entered the dungeon.
Oh, I will say your character description also, or your character sheet also has a description part where it shows like your race and your class, your champion points, your alliance, your rank. Uh, a lot of it is just kind of trivial, but I look at this character sheet and I go, I don't. I kind of just like having all this information here, just because
Yours
like
shows your CP? I don't think mine does. Oh
yeah,
wait, no, it has it up on the top in PC.
yeah. It also shows your XP progression, and it actually
Yes.
one nice thing if you got to CP. So getting up to level 50 and getting into champion point system, it does show when you are and when you are not enlightened. Which enlightened is basically,
Hmm.
hey, you get an XP boost for the day.
What I really like about it too is like it's very minor, but it shows you which champion point you're going to earn next. So there's three colors. You've got the craft tree,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
it
green.
does.
You've got, the warfare tree, which is blue, and then you have I can't remember the other one, but it's
Red.
orange. It's orange. It's orange.
I mean, it's red, orange, yellow, and then it goes to
I'm gonna
gold.
I'm gonna call it orange because orange is a mix of red and yellow.
Let
Just saying.
me bring up my.
But I like it because it's one of those little visual things that make me really happy. So you know which one you're getting next. Like the bar will either be red, orange, or blue.
Yeah, yeah. So that's nice. But yeah. All right. I think we've got the basics out of the way. I apologize if it
Anyone's asleep.
God. It's kind of that fatigue. You've been gone for 3 weeks, so you're like, how do we do a show? Did I swear I wrote enough stuff down, and apparently I didn't. So it's going to be one of those things where, you know how you forget something, and then like 5 minutes later in the conversation, you're completely done with the topic, and then just all of a sudden you're like, oh yes, it was a hamster. So,
Right. Yeah, I'm probably gonna wake up tonight and just go, I should have said that.
yep, break up in the middle of the night. God damn it. That wonderful hindsight thing. Alrighty,
Right.
guys, that is it for this episode of Legends Rise. Thank you all so much for joining us. And remember, if you want more stuff, you can check out our Discord. Once again, the links to those are on our Facebook and Twitter at Legends Rise ESO. Come be a part of the fun and make some new friends. And if you want more out of your experience, you can go to patreon.com/Legends Rise ESO and become a Legends Plus member. Music is Sons of Skyrim, epic metal remix edited by me and performed by Brandon Strader, and you can find him on YouTube and Facebook at BESTRADER. That's Best Raider. Lainy, where can the fine folks find you at?
Well, as always, you can find me on PCNA on ESO at a Dexy the One-Eyed, and that is actually there's like a little dash between one and eyed, but it's pretty simple and long.
And soon you can find me on PC. Yes! Surprise, I'm returning to my PC character when I get better internet. We have CenturyLink where we are, and when Leah told me that, I'm just like, I'm sorry, we have what? I'm like, no,
Right.
we have like the bottom of the barrel internet. I want to go back to my fiber optic, my 200 megabytes per second, which is going to be happening when we move on the 6th. So I will say we are probably going to pre-record some stuff for that, though, just so I'm not like having to freak out and rush to get everything put together. I can get my office all set up the way I want to. So the next time you guys see me after the move, I'm going to have a really kick-ass background in the back. So, until then, though, because I'm not going to, since my game's running like garbage and I have other reasons I can't play on PC right now, until then, you can come play, Halo with me or whatever on Xbox under the gamer tag. Everyone's Problem. Capital O is a 0 with no E at the end. So, I think that's it. Anything else?
I can't really think of anything else. Well, you all have a good night, and I hope we didn't confuse you guys too much
I know.
tonight.
I'm just like, I feel like we're not.
There was a lot of information, and if you guys have questions about classes, we will go into that in more detail when we cover the classes in different episodes.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I've got this. I know everything I'm gonna say. As soon as I hit record, I go, oh crap, I forgot everything I was going to do. And it's that thing if you're sitting there in silence and you're like, oh god, you become self-aware of the silence and it just gets worse and you're just like, ah.
It's also funny when you have a sentence that you want to say and then you start talking and just go blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and then you just completely forget the sentence you were going to say. Alrighty. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you in Q Music. Tabriel.